Hey guys, it's Drea. So today I am doing the eyeshadow palette lovers tag. This was created by Angelica. I will link to her channel below. She's really fun and a smaller channel, and I love stumbling upon smaller channels. Like, I'm a smaller channel, but she's a really smaller channel. But the reason I love just stumbling upon these channels is because they're usually way more unique and creative than a lot of the larger channels that you find. So if that's something you enjoy, then go check her out. But this video is in collab with my friend Yori. I always want to say it with her accent, but it's terrible at it. Yori. She is PersonalBeautyLab on YouTube. We have collabed in the past, and I really wanted to do it again. I wanted to do this video, so I reached out and asked her if she would like to do it with me, and thankfully she said yes. If you've never checked out her channel before, you guys, let me tell you, if there's ever a new product that comes out and I'm on the fence about it, I cross my fingers and hope that she reviews it, because she does the most perfect in-depth reviews of makeup products that just help me so much in deciding whether or not I should buy something. Like, she just covers everything, but she does it in an entertaining way. She's very warm, and just you feel like you're talking to your BFF. Do you know what I mean? So go check out her channel. She does such a wide variety of videos, and again, a smaller channel. So I just love her. She's just so precious. She's so wonderful, and also beautiful, and does amazing eye looks and all kinds of stuff. So go check her out. So I'm very thankful that she's doing this as a collab with me, and if you came from her channel, welcome. As she would say, please consider subscribing. And let's move on with the tag. So the reason I wanted to actually do this tag is because it is very different than most eyeshadow palette tags that I have done or that are around. I had to actually really sit and consider things and think about things. It wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction. The first question had me stumped literally for 25 minutes. So the first question is a palette that I regret that I didn't buy, and you would think that this would be easy. Yeah, there's so many palettes out there. There's gotta be 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 that you regret not picking up. But here's the thing. Usually if I really want something, I'll buy it. Okay, so there's that knocks off most of them off the list already. But a lot of the time, if I don't buy a palette, I get over it. I don't care anymore. If it's a FOMO thing, or it's everybody's buying it, so I want to, if I just sit and wait a couple weeks, and then it becomes a month, and it becomes 6 months and a year, and then I look back, I was perusing holiday palettes 2019 going, there must have been something that I wanted. No, everything, I'm just over it. So finally I remembered this one palette that I really wanted last summer that I never got, and it is the Give Me Glow Cosmetics Summer Vibes palette. I still kind of want this. Obviously that's why I answered the question. I regret not buying it. And then I discovered when I was looking at it just before filming this that it is in stock. I can buy it if I want. So I'm actually kind of considering it now. I'm kind of on a low buy again, so it probably, I probably shouldn't, but I really like the looks of this one. And it's one of those palettes where it was on my wish list, I never bought it, and I'm still wanting it now. So that leads us right into a palette that I do regret buying. There's probably quite a few that I could put in this, because I'm an experimenter when it comes to makeup. I used to, especially, and even somewhat now as well, will buy something to test it, because I just love exploring and experimenting with makeup and testing makeup. So a lot of the times I'll buy something right away and then regret it. Lately I've been trying to be a little bit more mindful, but I bought this last year and I really hardly ever use it, and it's not as impressive as I thought it would be, especially for the price. This is the Huda Beauty New Nudes. So this one is the very pinky nude palette. It was in a project pan, and then I took it out because I was just kind of bored with it. There's quite a few reasons that I'm kind of regretful of buying this palette. The main one is that these shimmers just don't do it for me. They swatch beautifully. And back when you could still swatch things in Sephora, I feel like that's why I bought this palette, was because of the swatches of these metallics. Like, they are very, very shiny and very beautiful. Those are the marbled ones that are in here. And they do not apply beautifully onto the eyes though. Like, when I apply them onto the eyes, I just feel like they're very dry and I don't get that shine and that metallicness that I want. So that's always been kind of like the main reason I regret buying this. I think all the mattes in here are fine, they're lovely, they blend well, they work really well. But those metallics are the reason I bought this, and the reason that it's disappointing, and the reason I regret buying it. Next is a palette that I haven't used as much as I thought I would. And that would be this one. This is the Anastasia Amrezy palette. I put a lot of thought into this one. I waited quite a few months before I decided to get it in the last VIB sale. And I do really like it. And I do not regret buying it at all, but I haven't used it as much as I thought I would. And to be quite honest, I think that's just because I have so much. Like, I have so much eyeshadow, and sometimes if I buy a lot of new palettes all at once, some things get pushed to the side, and that's kind of, I think, what happened around the time that I bought this. But I have used it like enough. I've definitely used it a handful of times. Oh, these are so soft. Like, honestly, I'm very happy that I own this. It's just that really beautiful Anastasia quality, the very soft pigmented mattes, the very beautiful, oh, metallics are so nice. See, this gets me excited about makeup when I swatch stuff and that's how it turns out. Like, those blow away the new nudes that I just showed you. Like, honestly. How does Huda get away with charging what she does? I have a feeling at the end of this video, I'm just gonna be inspired to want to use like all of these palettes again. So I will probably end up leaving them out for myself. The next one is a palette I use more than I thought I would. This one is the Too Faced Gingerbread Spice palette. I put this in, back when I was doing Project Pan and I was doing a palette of the month, this was one of my palettes of the month, and I hit pan on 2 shades in here. And I did have them in my Project Pan, but like, I really enjoyed this palette a ton last year. I took it traveling with me. Some of these shades, like the warmth of this orange Hot Toddy, just always makes me so satisfied when I'm doing a look. Like, it's always the perfect measure of like blendable and pigment. Like, I love that perfect combination of something being blendable and being pigmented. So I've always got like really good looks out of this palette. Obviously they're all gonna be fall, they're gonna be warm. I'm not like the biggest stan for Too Faced eyeshadows. I'm not really a huge fan of like their chocolate bar palettes. I love their little mini palettes, but this one has always been like just perfectly satisfying. Okay, this question had me sitting here looking through every palette I own, and I own a lot. So this one is my favorite half neutral, half colorful palette, which such an interesting question. Like, I don't think any eyeshadow palette tag before has ever had these types of questions in it. And that is so hard because usually it's like you either have only neutrals or like it's a super colorful palette. So it took me a long time, and it took me a while. I actually passed by this a couple times before I realized, no, that is half neutral, half colorful. And this is the Zodiac Love Signs palette from BH. I've like talked about BH for years, how much I love them. Their formulas are amazing. In general, like mostly are amazing. And this one is like amazing. Like the original Zodiac palette, I think, is what I really, that's when I really realized how good BH eyeshadows are. And then this is the second one in that series, and the original Zodiac is quite a bit darker and cooler toned, way more blues and greens, where this one I think is actually like a lot more colorful. When you look at that inner circle there, like it's all these beautiful warm shades here, and then there's quite a few pops of color, and then all the shades on the outer perimeter are kind of like an equal match of like neutral and like colorful. This is another one where every time I reach for it and I start using it, I am reminded and blown away by how gorgeous these mattes are and how beautifully they blend and how pigmented they are. I should get another colorful one because that's the whole point of this question. Like, they just work so easily. They're so easy to use. And then these outside ones are all baked. So sometimes I've used baked eyeshadows that are like this really, really dry kind of formula, and they kind of just like fade away or go away. But these ones, they show up. Let's do too colorful and too neutral. They show up and they're bright and gorgeous. And if you wet them, they get even better, but like they're just beautiful right off the bat. So BH is like one of my absolute favorite brands for eyeshadow. Okay, this one is always a fun one, and it is a palette I bought for the packaging. There are so many palettes that I bought either for the packaging or it like pushed me in the direction to buy it, or like I wouldn't have bought if not for the packaging. Isn't that the question? Okay, anyways. So I could have answered this with a whole bunch, but I picked this one because not only did I buy it for the packaging, but it's really, really good and I love it every time I use it. So this is the Too Faced Sparkling Pineapple Eyeshadow Palette. I don't know how easy this is to get. Look how pretty it is. It's just so fun and it's so beautiful and kind of luxe looking, but still being fun. And then inside, look at, okay, I know this is gonna be tough because of the mirror, but like it's even got the little pineapple man on the mirror. Like little details like this are so fun. And then even in here is just really, really pretty to look at, the way it's shaped and the gold. Here's the thing about this palette. I love using this in the summertime, and this has one of my favorite shades in all of my palettes, and that's this green one here, which is called, this is called Island Queen. And the fun thing about this one is it's a shifter, it's a duochrome, it's green and then it's red. And I put this all over the lid when I use it. Oh, this is so beautiful. And it just sparkles and moves and it gives it such a cool effect. I love this shade so much. And then like, talk about for the packaging, to me, like scent goes with that. And this has that like pina colada beach scent. So good. Okay, this is one of the really easy ones that I was able to answer. So this one is a palette that you like the shimmers more than the mattes. This one is super easy because this is the Smoke Sessions from Melt. I really like this palette. Sometimes when I'm scrolling through my Instagram and like posting, and I'll go look at older looks and try to get inspired, and I'm like, what is that on my eyes? A couple times it's been this, and I just get gorgeous, gorgeous looks out of this. But the thing about this palette is it literally has two mattes, and there are these two super dark ones right in the middle, and they are good quality, but it is hard to make a look with having these be your only mattes in the palette. And honestly, like a lot of times I will just reach for another palette to kind of complement this, but these shimmers are getting me excited just thinking about them. They are very soft. They're kind of crumbly. They got a lot of fallout. They're a little bit unwieldy and like wily to deal with, but they are some of the most stunning shades of green that I've ever come across. Like this palette is so fun to use. You get some beautiful, stunning looks out of it. So I'm always really excited about this formula and this palette. And then the next question is a palette that you like the mattes more than the shimmers. And this again was like, I had to really stop and think about it. Ultimately, I arrived on this. This is my Yes Please palette from ColourPop. It is very, very dirty. I've had this for years. I've talked about this to death, but I've never talked about it in this particular way. So you can see there is a warmth to this palette. Like it's very, very warm and summery, and like, I don't know, there's something just very like summer sunset about this. And there's only 4 mattes in this whole palette, sorry, 4 shimmers in this whole palette. So you have this orange at the top, this kind of like shimmer shade, like light shimmer shade. And then these two shades here, like this one and this one, are very similar to each other. And you can kind of tell, like I've hardly used these. And look how beat up this palette is, but I've hardly used these two. Because when I'm reaching for the shimmers in this palette, I almost 100% of the time reach for this one. And then sometimes I reach for this one. So the shimmers in this palette, even though I love this palette, I should have taken these swatches off. Even though I love this palette, like they're not what's great about this palette. They're just like okay. They're just kind of sweet and there. And honestly, this lighter one, it does really pop alongside the mattes in this palette, so I do really like it. But the mattes in here are the reason why this palette is as good as it is. They show up, they're so blendable, they make everything so warm and gorgeous. I know I'm running out of makeup wipes, and that's why I'm like not taking my swatches off. I'm just trying to go like all over my arm, but you could see I love the mattes in this palette. Okay, next question is a palette that happily surprised you. I feel like I have a lot of recent ones, but I haven't tested them enough to like super get excited to talk about them. I'll give you a quick example though. This one here, the Mimosa palette from BH, I've used this a handful of times and I love it. Like I love how pigmented and bright it is. But the reason I mentioned that one is because this one is like very similar. This one is the Violet Voss Coral Crush palette, and first of all, when this came out, like I wasn't excited by it at all. I saw it on Sephora's website, I was just like, okay, whatever. But then when I saw it in person and was able to swatch it, I was blown away by some of these shades in here. And then the more and more that I actually used it, the more I got compliments. Like honestly, every time I put this on my eyes, I get compliments all day long from people. Like if I'm in public, obviously, people will stop me and talk about my eyeshadow. But the thing I think that really happily surprised me about this one is that it is actually coral. Like it's not just pink. The pinks in here are orangey pinks. They're not like just pinky pinks. And I know that sounds silly, like yeah, a coral palette is coral, like duh, but honestly, like you don't find coral palettes all that often. It's not like a common thing. So there. But it's not like it's going to give you a huge wide variety of looks. You know, it's going to be what it is, but it still delivers like something absolutely stunning in that like coral warmth of it. And then the last question is the palette with the most interesting color story. Again, I feel like I have so many palettes that could fit this bill. But I chose this one for a very particular reason. This is the Violet Voss Best Life palette. I didn't even realize I had two Violet Voss palettes in this tag. Okay, this was gifted to me by Alex, and it's a very interesting palette in so far as the formula for one thing. So on the bottom you have a mixture of like metallics and mattes and shimmers, but mostly metallics I would say. And then at the top you have seven, I can count, 7 different colored straight up glitters. Like when do you see this kind of thing in a palette? It's a very bold choice for them to construct a palette in this way. So it's not even so much the color story, but it's the formula story of this palette that is so interesting. So you have like all of these different glitters at the top. Like when do you get this many pressed glitters in a palette? And like there's 7 of them. Like good God. Like look at that. That's crazy. Like some of the shimmers and mattes, this gold metallic is just really stunning. That gold metallic right there, super beautiful. So that's why I think like out of all my palettes, this one is so interesting, is because of the formula and the variety of colors and formulas that you get in it. But that is it. Those are all the questions. Super interesting tag. I hope that you'll go over and check out Angelica's channel, and definitely I'm so excited to watch Yori's video because like she has a beautiful collection, by the way, but Also, the way she talks about makeup is so thoughtful, and when it comes to tags like this, I really appreciate that. So I hope that you'll go check out her video and tell her that I sent you. And if you're from her channel, definitely subscribe. You got this far in the video, definitely subscribe. I hope that you guys are having a great day. I hope that you're speaking to yourself kindly, especially when you look in the mirror. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.